Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. I'm simply statue things for slate, dropping unrealistic mags, 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the milli, never hear me preach, look on to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. The 24/7, 365 way. Sports content for the reals that fill the day. Good afternoon, folks. I hope you're having a great Saturday. It is the first Saturday of December. That means we're in the home stretch of the NFL season, and the Philadelphia Eagles got their matchup against the Carolina Panthers week 14. This game, this looks like on paper, this is going to be a fun game for the Eagles, a boring game for every other fan base. However, the game's still going to be played. We're still going to see what's going to happen because the Philadelphia Eagles are coming into this game hot on momentum. Carolina Panthers are tank bowl contenders. Obviously, it's not hard to figure out what the expectations are headed into this matchup. Eagles minus 13.5 point favorites versus the Panthers. Reason why is simple. Because they're the better all-around team. They've been playing better. They have the better record. They have the all-around, they match up better in this one. Panthers are 3-9. Eagles are 10-2. So for this one, it's going to be a lot of smack talking, a lot of just kind of, having some fun, keeping it low. We still going to do the preview, but we're going to have more fun with it. With that being said, though, yeah, Eagles are obviously the favorites, and they should, for all intents and purposes, blow out the Carolina Panthers. That's why the odds are minus 13.5 in favor of the Eagles. Over with that being said, is there a possibility the Panthers could make it more competitive than people expect? Of course. There's always a possibility that any game could be more competitive than expected, even if on paper it's one of the biggest mismatches in that sport. There's always an possibility a mismatch could be competitive. You could look throughout NFL history and see that. Give case in point. Let's take a look at some Philadelphia Eagles matchups throughout history. Go back to the 04-05 season when they played the Cleveland Browns. That looked like a big mismatch on paper, the infamous TO as BO sign, but that ended up being a competitive game that went to overtime. Or we looked 2 years ago when we played the Colts. On paper, that was a huge mismatch, but the Colts managed to make it competitive, and we had to squeak out a win. The point is, there is a possibility the Panthers could make the game more competitive. Do I see that happening? No. I see the Eagles blowing these motherfuckers out and just dominating. But there is always that possibility it could be competitive. So I'm just throwing that out there. So don't get too surprised if, say, at halftime, it's only like 10-7, or you get to the fourth quarter, it's 23-13. Where there's still a chance. I'm just saying, but it should, all intents and purposes, either way, Eagles should win this matchup. I mean, I don't see anything. If all starters are healthy, if no key players get injured during the game, I don't see the Panthers having a chance of actually winning the game. That being said, I'm going to explain why, because we're going to look into this matchup. You got two teams. One team clearly the far better team than the other. It's not even close. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles in every asset of the game, they clearly outmatch this team. They outmatch them in terms of, offense, defense, position battles. It's all in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and all signs point to this team should blow out the Carolina Panthers, and we should have a field day. With that being said, I'm going to warn Eagles fans, don't try to play a shot game while you're watching, because there's a good chance you might get ridiculously drunk off it. Like, don't try to play a shot game every time the Eagles get a first down, because you're going to have way too much liquor in your body. You're going to be hungover coming into work or calling out on Monday, and that ain't going to do you any favors. You might not want to have a shot every time Saquon gets a first down or a touchdown, because you might be drinking too much. So the point is, the expectation is in favor of the Eagles coming out with another win to add to their winning streak, and doing so in convincing fashion. Because remember, we look at our schedule. Look at the struggling teams we played. All of them we blew out. The Cowboys dropped over 30 on them, dropped the 30 burger on them, blew them out. Giants, we had a blowout win. Like there's one more missing. I feel like there might be another miss, but those are the three main blowouts of struggling teams. Giants, it's the Giants with the Bengals too. They made it more competitive and they managed to score 17, but we still managed to beat the Bengals. Although we did have a competitive matchup against the Browns, but that's neither here nor there. The point being is, you look at the way we beat teams like the Giants, we should be able to take care of business and get an easy win in this one. But now we're going to start to go into, first we're going to take a look at the depth charts, because there is something important I want to discuss with you guys. We are missing a few guys, but let's get into it real quickly. So the Eagles depth chart, we do have Britton Covey's out again. At this point, he's got to be out for the season. I don't see him play. Yet Dallas Goedert, he's been downgraded to IR. He was initially ruled out, but breaking news, Dallas Goedert's been put on injured reserve. Grant Calcaterra is going to take over as the number 1 tight end, and CJ Uzomah is going to be the number 2 tight end. They got there's our breaking news, folks. And on defensive side, you got Darius Slade Jr. is expected to be back, but free safety, we got Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, and James Bradbury all out. We going to have to either use Tristan McCollum, Isaiah Rodgers in that spot, because who are we going to use at free safety? Or we might have to put, that's going to be an interesting question there. The most interesting component of the game thus far is asking who. Hello, Greg and John. Happy Saturday. Thanks for stopping by and showing your support. And this is actually the most interesting subject related to the game thus far. Who's going to fill in at free safety? So let me check the Eagles real quick. See if they announced anything yet. Because, let's see, I'm going to Google it up. Eagles versus Panthers injury report. It's from the Eagles website. Let me see if there's anything on Chris McPherson article that was posted yesterday. Let's see, is there anything out? Reed Blankenship, yeah. Grant Calcaterra has started at tight end due to injury this season. Eagles veteran CJ Uzomah to the active roster for added depth. Okay, let me see. Is there anything about... Okay, I don't see anything yet about free safety. Tristan McCollum entered the game for Blankenship, win over the Ravens. Okay, so probably Tristan McCollum will fill that spot. And then rookie Andre Sam on the practice squad might get some playing time just because they're down at free safety. And if you guys wonder where I'm reading this from, I'll share it with you. I'm going to share it in the chat. Here's the link. So that's from the injury report yesterday that was McPherson put up. So there's the first. So that's the one thing that stands out as a concern in this game. The only thing, as a matter of fact, actually so far that I see interesting to talk about related to this game. And here we go. You got Carolina Panthers depth chart. Let's take a look. You got Bryce Young playing, Adam Thielen, Jalen Coker. Sounds like Coker. Jatavion Sanders at tight end, questionable. Robert Hunt, right guard. Most notably standing out is Miles Sanders is on IR, so we don't have an opportunity for a revenge game there. But even if he was playing, Sanders has done a complete 180 from that Pro Bowl year when he went to Super Bowl 57 versus run with the Panthers. So it wasn't going to be much of a matchup anyway. And the Panthers, they're kind of banged up. Oh, Jadeveon Clowney, questionable. Jadeveon Clowney. Then you got Shaq Thompson on IR. Got J.C. Horn still there. Xavier Woods, former Cowboy Xavier Woods. That you look at this right here, like crazy to think Jadeveon Clowney is actually with the Panthers. I didn't even realize that. I had to look at how he was doing this season thus far just to see if he was even a factor or not. Seriously, because this guy has been a non-factor in recent years. He's just one of the more recognizable names. And then you got Greg saying Eagles are going to play down to competition. Yeah, that's all right. That is possible. So Greg thinks this could be a closer game than expected, folks, because I mean, it could happen, especially with the way the Eagles have been riding that wave of momentum. They feel like this is an easier game. They could come into this a little more relaxed than they did against the Ravens and the Rams and the Commanders. So this could be a more competitive game than expected. On paper, it doesn't seem that way. But like I said at the beginning of the show, for those who didn't catch it, it's likely that the Eagles are going to dominate, but there is a chance the competitors could make it competitive. That being said, let's get back to Jadeveon Clowney, 33 total tackles. You got 3.5 sacks, which, I mean, my Panthers defense is decent. He's still one of the better defenders on that team, but they don't have much of the defense. They don't have much on defense to work with. Sometimes, yeah, like you count doing sit-ups, jogging. I mean, I put it that way. Yes, I do that. And now Greg has got me thinking maybe I should share some workout clips for YouTube, incorporate it while I'm discussing football or basketball. But thanks for the idea. That's another subject for another time, man. So I will keep that idea in mind, Greg. Thanks for the inspiration. And man, so like I said, there's not too many key matchups here. And I'm looking on paper, this should be an easy game because all the key matchups you can think of. Miles Sanders versus the run defense, the Panthers wide receivers versus the passing game, Bryce Young versus the Eagles line. Although Bryce Young hasn't been sacked a whole lot, so but we're still going to get to him at least once or twice. But I'm looking at this matchup on paper, all the key matchups are all mismatch in favor of the Eagles. So I just look, just looking at it, it feels like mismatch after mismatch after mismatch. Let's take a look. Eagles are 10-10. Let's say get Saquon versus the Panthers run defense. Where's Barkley in the MVP discussion? Let's see. Panthers have given up 166.8 yards per game this season, which ranks 32nd. So they gave up the most rushing yards. They also gave up 4.8 yards per pop. That's 27th in the NFL. All signs indicating to this could be a hat trick or a 300-plus yarder for Saquon on paper. I mean, I'm looking at it. Let's see. Bucks running back Bucky Irving had 25 carries for 150 yards and a touchdown. And that one was named NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Obviously, this is looking like a huge mismatch in favor of, you guessed it, Saquon Barkley. There is a given 1.96 yards before contact, ranks 28th in the league. Just all around complete mismatch. Now, Jordan Mailata versus Jadeveon Clowney. Let's see, you got Chuck. Let's take a look. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney, yeah, is still one of the top guys. I just kind of talked about that. He's the biggest threat on that Panthers defensive line, even in his down stage. Even when Jadeveon Clowney is in the bouncing around from team to team phase, even in his like Reggie White on the Panthers phase. Not that Jadeveon Clowney was ever in the same tier of player as Reggie White, but just to give you a comparison of a player on the downswing. That just came to mind, I guess, because it's Eagles and Panthers. But even in his like in that stage, like his I'm on my last leg stage, he's still one of the better players on this Panthers defensive line on paper. So there's not really much of a threat there. And yet Jordan Mailata's on him. I mean, Jordan Mailata should do well for himself. And Mailata, let's see, has 274 reps and just give up 10 pressures and 1 sack. Yeah, so Jordan Mailata's been holding his own weight. Jadeveon Clowney, he might be able to get to Hurts once or twice. He might be able to get to the run game once or twice. But I don't really see Jadeveon Clowney at this stage in his career the same type of threat he was when he was in Houston and we played the Texans. To me, he's just a serviceable veteran at this point, which isn't bad, but I'm saying he's not the same threat he was. But that so far is the biggest threat of the Panthers. And then we look at something like, I'm not really feeling much heat from that. Nothing really concerning me. That's why I'm kind of just breezing through these key matchups. You got AJ and Devontae versus the Panthers pass game. Panthers, let's read it. Panthers are 24th in the NFL in passing and 29th in net yards per attempt, giving up 6.8 on average. J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, 5th-round rookie Cho Smith-Wade have taken over as the starting nickel in recent weeks. So this is a big mismatch here on paper in favor of the Panthers. And then you give them down, you got Jalen Carter versus Robert Hunt over the last month. Carter's been playing with one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Yep. Let's see. You got Hunt. Hunt 28 has given up a team high 24 pressures and 4 sacks, who's supposed to be one of the top offensive line. Dude, this is looking like the biggest mismatch on paper, which is also ties into Gregor's point in the comments. He believes the Eagles are likely to play down the competition because this feels like such a mismatch on paper. This feels like an easy Eagles win that he thinks there's a chance the Eagles could come in underprepared and try to take it easy in the preparation. And that could happen, but time will tell. You got the Eagles run defense versus Chuba Hubbard. Panthers done a good job featuring running back Chuba Hubbard and the offense on new head coach Dave Cannells. Hubbard has 119 yards on 189 attempts for the season for an average of 4.9 yards per carry. And also has 7 rushing touchdowns. Okay, but Chuba Hubbard is one of the better pieces of this offense. He's one of the few guys that at least gives their offense a bit of a spark. But even then, you're like, he's only had 189 attempts on 4.9 yards and 7 touchdowns. You got to wonder, let me look. How often are the Panthers using him? Because I want to get an idea if they're just stubborn with the play calling or whatnot. Oh, he did get 28 attempts against the Giants. All right. Give me a second. I'm going to look at his game-by-game stats. All right, recent games, see all. I'm going to share the screen with you guys in just a second. Here we go. So let's look. Go all the way back to the beginning of the season. Only 6 carries, 10 for 64, 2,114 that. And when Chuba Hubbard gets the carries, he actually does decent, even behind a struggling offensive line, which goes to show you that that offensive line wasn't really an excuse for Miles Sanders because hold on one second. Can you hear? It's working. It's working. I just wanted to test the audio real quickly because the StreamYard was saying it lost connection with the audio. So sorry about that pause. I just wanted to make sure the audio was working correctly. I pulled it up, the stream on a separate tab to see if I could hear myself. But back into the game. I mean, Chuba Hubbard's a decent running back, so there is potential they could get something going with that offense. But other than Chuba Hubbard, whatever it is, and Jadeveon Clowney, I don't see any matchups on paper that resemble this could be a tough game. I mean, some people, even with their score predictions, they're thinking it could be 30-17, could be a decent game. And then you got Vic Fangio versus Bryce Young. And Fangio said this about Young. Just in the full operational offense, I think they've done a good job of coaching him. They really have a good running back in Hubbard. They feature him. They're just playing action and boots off the run game. I think they've done a good job in the internal finding out who they are within the quarterback's abilities, but didn't really say much about Bryce Young himself actually being a threat, which goes to show, which says more that Vic Fangio doesn't see Bryce Young as a threat. Now, some fans might be worried that they get a little cocky, and maybe not true. But overall, man, you look at everything I just went through. The key player matchups, the preview, all of that. It comes across as a huge mismatch in favor of the Eagles, where they should dominate this game. But we don't know if that's going to happen. Now, we're just going to go through a quick keys to victory. Number one, don't go out partying all night when it can affect your game. You got to play Sunday afternoon the next day. Don't do that. Number two, stick with what's worked best offensive-wise. Lean toward the run. Panthers are abysmal against the run. Should work. Number three key, make sure to at least get to Bryce Young once or twice. Next key, stay healthy. I mean, these are pretty much the main keys to a victory over the Panthers. I mean, that's not really much. That's not big keys to victory, but they're just small keys to victory. And the only reason I'm keeping it that way is because, honestly, there's not much to think about seeing these two teams going into it. But yes, folks, I'll just recap it up real quickly. I have got the Eagles winning this game, no questions asked. Give me a, say, 35-20 victory. Maybe the Panthers score some points in garbage time late and make it look more competitive, but time will tell on that one. But any note, yeah. Of course, let's wait and see what happens tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be back to recap it same time, noon Eastern Standard Time, Monday, December 9th. I'm going to create the stream after they go off, upload this thing to Spotify, and that's all I got to say for now. Everyone that tuned by, Greg, John, anyone else that stopped by, I appreciate your support. Thanks for rocking with the stream. Thanks for listening to the breakdown. I hope you enjoyed it. Says fly, Eagles, fly. Let's get this W. Keep that momentum going. Lions won. We got to win to stay pace, baby. With that being said, just got to wait and see what happens. Till next time, it's your boy Nicky Steve signing off.